Alright everyone, welcome along there. So, week 3. What I said we'd look at today is what goes into doing that fix that you've got, where you've got manually entered data and it just isn't right. And for a lot of businesses that I've encountered this with, it's been something to do with the GL, so your general ledger, where you can't edit the source. The source is, for legitimate reasons, effectively locked. So what can we do? Now, our New York Water Tower dataset has a manually entered field like that, that's something very similar. And the challenges are the same. So I thought, well, let's look at this, because the first solution that we've got is one that's familiar to most businesses that are doing this today, in that it's an Excel-based solution. And this works. It does a really good job. It's very simple. And frankly, compared to what they're doing today, it's at least as good, if not better. So tick there from a day one perspective. Your moving forward steps is where we're going to look in the future. What can we do to actually make this more driven and actually have it more event-led? So I've identified a gap, you need to do something, as opposed to it being, I need to go and check. But the I need to go and check is still not a huge task. And we'll have a look at that in Excel now, and we'll see where we're getting to. Champion. Alright, so here we are in Excel, right? And what you can see is I've got a list of labs, and then I've got the actual tested by in terms of what we want to bring into the report. So it's kind of a cleansed version of the data. And what we can see here, if we zoom in a bit, is where we've got all these different spellings of ambient group, for example. We've just rationalized it, okay, and brought this through. So you've got your standards here that need to be applied, don't we? So we've got ambient group, we can see all the different spellings, and it could be that they're different locations for a company. It could be that they're different entities depending on like a national level, and you might want to report on them separately. You might be able to use this standardized piece as a way of building a dimension for them and actually have something else that's going on from there. There's 1,000,001 things you can do as an organization or as a business that warrant doing this. The most sensible thing though is you do this today, you're doing this today, somebody will be producing a list based on here's the entries that we've got in the GL, these are what they need to be for reporting purposes, these two lists, I extract it, I manually do it, and off we go. And you're going to turn around and say, oh, this is a huge piece of work. Now, when I first set this up, it took me about half an hour to go through it, right? But it's there. It doesn't need me to keep doing anything with it. In terms of the numbers, because that's one of the things that you'll always say is, oh, there's tons of these here. You know, I think there was 700 or so. So 724 now entries on there. So we'd have to go through and check and say, right, we'll do this. But don't forget, it's a one-off. So because this is refreshing automatically, it works and it was retained. Now you go, hang on, how is this refreshing automatically, you're saying? Now that's where the magic happens. And this is one of the things that you can only do with the likes of Power Query within Excel. So Power Query as it exists within Power BI obviously won't do this because Power BI doesn't have a write back function natively within the core thing. Of course, yes, with Power BI Premium you can have dataset write back. You potentially wouldn't want to do it with this, but we could look at doing that maybe as a further step as you go further on. I would say build this first, build the second stage, and then potentially you could look at a write back option if you get that far into it. But again, remembering that the core piece here is you can't edit the source. So the source is locked for legitimate reasons. That's the challenge. In the case of this, we're reading it in from a web source. We can't write it back. So we need to store somewhere the entities that we've got. And in terms of updating it, all I need to do is periodically come to it, filter down to see the blanks, click OK. We can see we've got 2 here, not applicable, and provide names. So I'm going to just put unknown for those. If it's going to let me type. Okay, so we've put those in. it being Excel, it's now going to save those. Okay, so clear the filter on there. That's updated. So next time that refreshes into my report pack, we've got those values updated now. So how does this work? That's the question, right? And this is the bit that was kind of a bit like, I don't understand when I first went through and did it. Okay, so you can see from the bordering, it being green, those of you that have used this, this is a Power Query table being loaded through. So there's a query running and it loads the table. So if we go in and edit the query, we can see here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the query dependency first. Not query source, sorry, query dependency view. So I think this kind of shows it best. Okay, so we've got the web source that we're using that's reading through, here's the data. Okay, we're pulling it through in this table, rows, okay, just needs to land it somewhere. Okay, and this is something I do a lot, is I use what I call temp tables in Power Query. They are not tables. Do not think of them as tables, please. Right? That's something I use, and we'll discuss it more in the extra video for this week. But what's then happening is it's reading in the current workbook. So it's reading in the table that it's about to write to. And that's the bit, hang on, you're thinking, hang on, what? So it reads it in and then it writes it back. So because we're reading it in, we can then compare and see, well, we've got these values, which ones have we not got? And they're then the blanks, okay? So it starts to actually become recursive. And that's where the power of this really comes in. So what we do when we look at the advanced query editor, I'm sorry, this is so small. Close this, let's go to the advanced query editor. That's maybe a little bit better because I can zoom in a bit on this more. Okay. So you can see what we've got here is a second source line. Okay. So we're pulling in our rows, which is just the query stack from the web page. Okay. Pull that through. We're filtering it down. I just want the lab name column, and then we're removing duplicates from it. So give me a distinct list of lab names that you've got for the tested by. Okay, so which lab did we send the water samples to? Simple. The next step, and this is where one of these things comes through that you need to start to think about in terms of what goes on in Power Query and how does mscript actually work. So we've declared, well, let's look at source 2. And that's going to be the current workbook, this tested by table. And that was the table that we had to look at first. So we've got now this concept of it's now looking at what it's about to write and seeing, well, what's written already. Okay? Because we've got that, we can then run a merge table. And previously, what you will have seen merge tables done by is in, or most normally, let me see if I can highlight this properly, right? You'll see it between two distinct tables. But remember, each step in a Power Query script is likely to be a table as well for most of them, okay? So there's only really 3 data types that you can have in Power Query in terms of the entities that a line refers to, okay? It can be a scalar value, very, very rare. So a specific one you might see, well, your parameters are scalar values normally. So that'd be like the date time value, like local date time that you declare. You would have seen that in our calendar. So where we're pulling the today date. You've then got lists. So you'll see when you first built the calendar, it was a list. Hey, you see everything's going through. Came up with a list of dates. Okay, that's a list. And then you have to convert that list into a table. So you then end up with a table. So each of these headings refers to a table at that time. So we're saying this table at this time, do it. So what we're doing is we're merging the query as a left outer of the lab name with the lab name of the Excel spreadsheet. So we can say, well, these are the two that go together. We can then expand that through, and you've got, here's your table set, okay? So if we go through, and this is where I apologize, it's going to be a bit crazy. And we go step by step, as I always say to people, if in doubt and you're not sure, go step by step through your Power Query and follow and find out where the issue starts. So we'll start with the source. Okay, so that's dead simple. So that's just the same as row, which is there. So our straight pull. We're then going to extract a simple column, and we're going to remove duplicates from it. Okay. So far, that makes sense. We've then we've got this source 2. And you go, well, that's different, isn't it? So source 2 is exactly what we were looking at before. It's just, here are our values. Okay. We're doing a change type because just Power Query, you need to make sure you've got everything the same type. So then we've got this merge query step here. Okay. And if we look at the text, the type here, you can see we're merging our remove duplicate step with our change type step. So that list that we had distinct with this. So what we end up with, if we click on one of these columns here, we can see right down at the bottom how it marries up. So if we pick one of the ones that's down here, let's pick 83. So we've got Environmental Building Solutions LLC, so that's the same, marries up with table. And what we'll find is at some point there might be blanks. So when we choose to expand out, give me the tested by field for there, what we end up with is the full list of values from our web source and a married up list of values from our Excel spreadsheet. And then the magic is we're going to write that back to our Excel spreadsheet. So what if you reckon then? Okay, the whole thing, it feels a bit Inception-esque, if I'm honest, right? And that's why I've gone with the background today. Right? It feels odd. Hang on, you can do this. You can't do it within Power BI. Of course you can't, because Power BI is a reporting tool, so it reports. Excel is kind of an editing tool. It allows you to edit. And the ability to read through the content of the Excel spreadsheet and then write back to it afterwards is a huge one. It's one, really, don't forget it. You can use that a lot to do a lot of nice things. So if, for example, you've got products and you need to have different classifications for them, you could read in your product IDs and the content of that table, and then you could have an Excel spreadsheet actually updating that and have these are the classifications for them. Likewise for your sites, if there's information about your sites that you need, or there's additional pieces that you don't have in your original data source, rather than maintaining something as completely separate, you've then got that lookup, marry up back to it, that makes it much more accurate at all times. So we'll bring this into our data source, and this is going to help pull forward our New York data set, because now we can see, well, how many inspections have been carried out by the owner, how many have been done by this lab. And if there's due diligence checks that would need to be done, as I'm sure there would be if we were doing this as this is our business report pack, you can do those, you can take the time, you can go in and check and make sure that you validate it. You could even go so far as to add some additional fields to that spreadsheet saying validated by Jeff and a date, and then you simply merge those through. So if they don't have any, they haven't been updated. And then you can use your Excel rules and all the sorts of things that everyone likes to do to actually write in who does it, who did what, all those fancy things that people love. So it's all there, it works, and it's quick and easy to get started with, which is the most important thing for all of us. So I hope you enjoyed that. Hope it wasn't too quick for you. Check out the extra video when it comes online at the weekend, right? And see if that makes sense to help you get your head around exactly what is going on with that side of things. Have a great week. Take care. Ta-da.